of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the November 5th, 2020 meeting to order. Roll call shows that everyone is in attendance. 3 agenda changes. Are there any? If not, we'll move to 4. Consent agenda. A, October 15th, 2020 regular board meeting minutes. B, licenses and permits. There are none. C, presentation of accounts and other claims against the village.
I have one question about the invoice listing when I was signing today. And I'm assuming, Carl, you've got this base covered. There's a tool rental on there, but because it's an employee, I just want to make sure that was part of that approval that we did earlier on, right?
Well, not so much the amount was part of the approval, but I think the former administrator had worked out an agreement to, when the employee used his own personal professional tools for building the garage,
Okay.
that he would charge something for it.
Just
And,
covering everyone's rear and making
yeah,
sure.
I don't like things like that, so I try not to do that, but it was already set in motion, so.
Okay.
I had talked to Dan about it previously, and same with Jeannie.
I think it didn't really help that building was kind of when they had time to do it, so
Yeah.
to kind of, it made more sense using those tools than renting something, taking it back and trying to fit it in, so.
No, I just want to be sure so that this
I
employee
don't
never
think there are
gets
any
asked.
winners or losers there. I think we came out all right versus having it constructed by a contractor. But
Okay.
again, these are professional grade tools, and we're using them. They're getting more out, so we gotta. Yeah, it is
Okay.
what it is.
Then I
I'm-
make. Oh,
I'm
okay.
still happy that our employees put that building up.
It is.
Rather than
It
contractors.
is a quality garage. Probably only 1 or 2 other contractors built something that nice.
Then I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda.
Second,
Roll call. Dan?
aye.
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 Aye. Motion carried. 5, pre-registered citizens to be heard. Are there any?
No.
No? We'll move to 6, committee reports. A, Planning and Zoning Commission. Basically, we will be covering this later on. So we, right? So we really don't need to have a discussion on it right now. 7 is unfinished business from previous meetings. There is none. 8, new business. A, set public hearing date for 2021 budget. When are you doing that?
So I think Jean's.
Potentially December 3rd, 2020, which is Thursday, the first board meeting of December.
I think we'd also like to do a committee of the whole on the 19th to discuss and prioritize CIP projects.
November 19th.
Yeah.
So next.
We're
In 2
basically,
weeks.
we got the money approved, we just, you know, some of the prices are coming in, we just want some help prioritizing these projects and some focus.
Okay.
So that would be
That's-
before the regular, next board meeting,
The Thursday,
yeah, Thursday the 19th.
Thinking about 5 o'clock now, or?
I can call into that, I won't be here.
If you guys made your own priority list, we could call 5:30, but 5 would be better, so we can actually have a little time to
Yeah.
talk about it.
Or maybe I won't. No, it depends on
Okay, so that's that one, but we also need to do
Public hearing?
the public hearing. So you were requesting to do it at, is it,
December 3rd.
do we need a full hour or do we need a half an
The
hour?
public hearing can be held during the regular board
Yeah,
meeting.
that can be
Yeah.
during the
Oh,
regular board
okay, so we don't
meeting.
need to do anything
Part of
special
it.
for that,
Yep.
okay.
No.
But I have to get stuff published and I need to know when.
Okay,
we need to do it.
so do you need a motion for that?
Nope.
Okay,
Just if that's an agreement, put that in the.
During the board meeting.
Okay, does everyone have that down?
Mhm.
Okay, then we'll go to B, LD-1-20, Earl Bungert Rickert Land Division.
We're gonna let Bob I'll take that.
Yeah.
In your packet, I sent Bob's memo and my memo regarding that, so.
Yeah, thank you. So if you look at the that certified survey map, you'll see that there's houses there already. There's a house, rental house, I believe it is, in the front there, and there's a garage, and then there's the Earl residence in the back. And that was, up till now, that's set up as a condominium. So it was a 2-unit condo. It was done that way because it was preferable at the time, was the thinking, rather than granting a variance. But they're experiencing problems given the condo status, and it's such a unique property. It's very difficult to have it appraised. So bottom line is that they're coming forward and asking that it actually, instead of a condo, just become a 2-lot, a normal split, where you have 2 separate legal lots, okay? But in order to do this, the board would have to grant a variance on the access there. Our ordinance says that you're supposed to have 30 feet of frontage on a public road, and you'll see it's about half that, it's 15 feet. For the lot 2, which would be the Earl property. So the Planning and Zoning Commission did approve that this past week, and it's staff's recommendation that the board approve it. Questions?
The only question that came up after planning and zoning that was addressed with me was, so is this adding another driveway then on Main Street?
No,
No,
it's the existing driveway,
okay.
and actually that drive,
It's kind of half and half.
that
Yeah,
drive is half and half. It's actually half on the lot to the west there.
Okay,
So they actually have an easement to share that driveway. So you would have, I guess, there's probably three parties sharing that driveway, but it's the same driveway that's there. There's nothing changing physically
okay.
with the buildings or driveway.
Because that question was asked, and then to lead into that, the easement, so then all 3 property owners would be into that easement agreement, correct?
That's correct.
And we have nothing to do with that.
No, that's their responsibility.
That's their responsibility, but
Absolutely.
but
And since
are we
it's-
sure it's there?
Yeah, and since it's shared, they won't take any permit from the state or
Okay.
anything like that.
Because I know sometimes
State
easements can get kind of, you know, and it can turn into where they're asking the village questions, and I don't want that to be asked of us, so.
Sure.
And then the other question that was brought up, it was actually somebody from the other side of the lake. So I know I got a notice as a property owner because it's so many feet. Did any of the property owners on the other side of the lake, because are they within so many feet or not really?
What was it, 300?
It's 300 feet of the property,
So
so
it
the
probably
lake
didn't.
doesn't. yeah.
Okay. Because somebody asked why they didn't get a notice. Okay.
Then I make a motion to approve LD 1-20
Second it.
With the
Oh.
variance.
with the
With the
variance.
variance. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, C is LD-2-20, Schrader Dahl Land Division.
Okay, this one is on the south end of town. As you go out on South Nash. And what's proposed here is shown again on that certified survey map. This does have the lot 2 there does have the road frontage according to our ordinance. The distance and width are consistent with the ordinance. I looked at the ordinance again today and I didn't see any variance at all from that. And Carl, is that your conclusion? too?
Yeah, no, it's perfectly acceptable. They've got a driveway permit from the county. There it was. highway access permit, county's okay with it. It meets all the village's requirements for lot size and width and depth and road frontage. There's some concern from neighbors in the Hortonville subdivision, but this is outside the subdivision, so it's outside their, I wouldn't say their concern, but it's outside their scope. You can't apply subdivision rules to this property. Was a rural piece of property, so there's nothing to warrant not approving this. It's not my vote.
Any questions? If not, we're looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve LD-2-20, the Schrader Dwell Land Division.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. D is LD-3-20, Vans Realty and Construction Land Division.
Okay, this is the last part of that sale of the land previously owned by Parker, bought by the village, and then sold to Vans. If you recall, we had an agreement with them. The parcel in back of the, well, along Michael Ripker there, always was planned to be 5 lots. But there's a limit on how many you can do by certified survey map. You can only have 4 new parcels. And so that meant when we transferred this, the others, this one had to go to them and then be split, okay? The village couldn't do it anymore. So that's what this is. This one is being split consistent with our earlier agreement. We always knew there was going to be 5 lots made out of that Parker strip. Okay?
All right. I'll make a motion to approve LD-3-20 Vans Realty and Construction Land Division.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. E,
Thank you.
approval of auditor from RFP process, Hawkins Ash.
So we did receive 4 proposals. One of them was from a firm in Illinois. We decided against that one. Kerber Rose, which was our previous auditor, and Hawkins Ash and Baker Tilly. Baker Tilly turned in their proposal for 250 hours, which we questioned that because our previous auditor had in there 160 hours. So I asked Baker Tilly to give us another proposal based on 160 hours, and they did lower it 10,000, but it was still 28,000 up to 29,000 for the 3 years. So we had an ad hoc committee of Jeannie, Shauna, myself, and Nathan, and we decided on Hawkins Ash. Their amounts were 16,490, and then 16,980 for the 3-year term. And we have used Hawkins Ash previously, so we chose them. And I guess we just need a motion.
So what's the total 3-year cost?
Well, it's 16,000 per year.
About 50.
Oh, per year?
Yeah, per year.
It gives you 190 hours of service. which-
190 instead of 160?
Yes.
And Kerber was,
And Kerber Rose was 19,550, 25.
For
25.
160?
oh,
For 160, so
Yeah.
there's a $3,500 difference between Hawkins Ash and Kerber Rose, with Kerber Rose being higher, but offering 30 less hours.
Right.
Baker Tilly was much higher, but, you know, as I mentioned in that meeting, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but I mentioned at that meeting, I think that we need to continue to look at this. In my experience, we shouldn't maintain the same auditor for too long of a period because it becomes stale.
Mhm.
And so, you know, I like Baker Tilly, they have a good reputation and everything. I think it would be, and from the deliberation that we did, they have software that can feed data specifically from our system, so there's less interaction that's required. So I think that there's someone to keep in our back pocket as an option going forward, but I would I just don't wanna get stuck with the same auditor. I think it's a bad plan.
I've used Hawkins Ash Baptiste for years, and they've been very good, so.
Yeah,
Jeannie said we used to use them
and I
here,
worked
so-
with them, I totally agree, they are a
So I'll
very great company to work with also.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposal from Hawkins Ash Baptiste for auditor services for the next 3 years, beginning 2021, 2022, and 2023. Do I need to put amounts in there?
They're auditing
Actually-
2020,
They're
2021, and
2020.
2023.
Yeah, 2020 to
Yeah, for
2022.
the work being done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, Dan?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. F, discussion on virtual meetings.
Basically, virtual meetings, we're fine if the need arises, we can do it. I don't know, what else. Basically, our, pads that we got with the state funds, our iPads came in for the state funds so that we can do virtual meetings as well. Basically, it would be up to you guys for what we'd want to, when we'd want to do it, or if we'd want to do it. So, we have the capabilities to do it, and
I think
we
part
have
of
the
part of the discussion too, Nathan, was those folks, like if you weren't gonna be able to be there, for example,
Right.
you would be able to do it through that template as well, the tablet.
we could do that. Otherwise, we do have a phone, the phone system. We did get another one with the state funds as well, has more speakers and stuff, so it's easier to hear probably on the phone than now, a lot easier for that. So it depends on what the board wants to do. Sometimes with the only issue with the virtual meetings is if only one person's doing the virtual meeting and everyone else has their iPads in front of them for the virtual meeting, the sounds can start looping, and cause problems for the user. So it's probably, if it's gonna be a virtual meeting, we'd want everyone to be in it at their own place, most likely. Or if someone's gone, do the phone, would be my suggestion.
Julie, what were you looking at?
Well, the county has been doing virtual meetings for months now, like since, I wanna say, late spring, early fall, or early summer. I guess, I'd like to know what is the tipping point at, what, if we're gonna do a virtual meeting, yes, I agree, the all or nothing, because I did try it virtually one night, and then ended up just coming, because the echoing was so bad. I think, Peter, you might have even tried a virtual meeting, and the echo was terrible, but if we're all on, I mean, good lord, I spend hours per day either on Teams or Zoom, without any issues, because we're all virtual. I guess I'd like to maybe explore, and I'm not asking for a policy by any means of like, this is what constitutes what we have to do a virtual meeting, but if that point comes where a virtual meeting makes more sense, I think we should be able to explore it, and even if we do a test of that system, after a board meeting tonight, we adjourn and we all test it out. We all go in some, remote corner of wherever we go and we test it out so that we're comfortable with it. I guess that's, to me, would be wise to plan.
The only thing I would say to that, and I agree with, I think we should test it, but I think, if I remember right, the times that we did virtual, that you ended up coming in, and even the time Peter was on, was before we had the phone. We were using cell phones then.
Yeah.
This was video, and I could hear you and you could hear me, but the problem is it because there were so many places pulling audio here, it was awful. The audio was terrible, but I know that I also spend several hours a day on virtual meetings. So I know that if everyone's virtual, it's great. But if 7 or 8 people are in a room and one person's virtual, it's not so wonderful. That's why he's saying the phone. I would just like to know that we as a board, that if some tipping point or something, and granted, you call me Fruit Loops all you want, but if something goes back into some sort of shutdown again, that we're confident this works. We all have our iPads or a computer, if that's what Jim's gonna use, but we all have this tool. Why not use it?
I think we should definitely test it. I think
Yeah.
that we need to figure out how it all works and how it
After a board meeting, we adjourn and we each go, go into our own separate area. We're still on the Wi-Fi here and just test it. We all know it works then. So then in the event we have to do a virtual meeting, we're okay. It's not a big deal. That's what I really would like. And then, coming up to like, I think of a meeting with the Alliance Church and with, where I brought up virtual for, I know there's historical society members that will not come to a personal meeting because their health is in jeopardy doing so. So allowing them to be part of that meeting, because they're still important pieces of that 501c3, to eliminate them simply because there's a pandemic going on, to me just seems like a kick in the teeth. We need to make sure that we're including the players, the important players of those meetings. That's what I was asking for, if we could make sure that we had the ability to do virtual for that meeting.
I agree with you, probably the checking, by testing after meeting, it'd have to be a committee meeting or something, because we have all the trustees together.
Yep.
If everybody's remote, there's really no
Yeah.
need to test. I mean, we've all done Zoom meetings. I did one with the county today.
Yeah.
As long as we're not all in here trying to talk at the same time, that gets, when you're on Zoom, that messes things up. But
Yeah.
if everybody's on Zoom, it's gonna be fine. And you can type on the right, so you can ask a question
Yeah.
or whatever.
I do meetings all day. My
Yeah.
kids and my daughter is
Yeah.
working for, for IT, and she's probably spends 6 hours a day on virtual. And
When we're doing 4 or 5 people in here and everybody else on Zoom, then it gets to be an
It's
issue. But if
awful.
everybody's on Zoom, it's not a problem. So I think that's what Nathan's getting at,
Yeah.
is we're okay with that. I don't think we need to do any more. If
We're
it gets that
good.
bad, then we'll just all go on Zoom, we'll be fine.
yeah, I just know that there's maybe different comfort levels, and a test was maybe. to
It's
get
fine. The
everybody
first
at that.
time you use it, you'll be an old pro,
Mhm.
so.
Okay.
No, I'm not trying to diminish anything.
No, I just,
Once everybody's on Zoom, it's fine.
yeah, and then making it still public is not an issue, correct? Is that what I'm understanding, that?
We have two ways of kind of going about it. Prefer, depending on how bad it is, we can deal with that. We can either have the public still come in here, and have one, village, employee here on their Zoom, and then we can have the board projected on the screen. And then if anyone has questions or a comment, they can talk through the, employee's device. Otherwise, we can release the Zoom information online. The potential issues would be anyone can really use that to get in. So it can cause issues if people want to mess around with the village. So that would
Somebody
be
coming
one
on and
issue.
making some comments.
I think we can mute them, but we can't necessarily, I think they could be doing stuff on Zoom. I'm all for virtual meetings personally. I mean, I just feel like that's a wave of, we need to embrace it right now. I don't see it as it's gonna be a permanent situation, but I also, when I looked at the county board and I thought, oh my gosh, they haven't even been meeting in person for months. Why are we not looking at this? I mean, I don't know, Dave, I mean,
Like I
what
said,
is your
you need
experience with
staff.
other?
Nathan's right. A staff will run it here.
Mhm.
The public wants to come in and comment, they can, and they'll just run it through staff.
Yeah.
You guys can all stay home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel or come up with policies. I think
Dave, what are other municipalities doing right now? I mean, what?
Well, a lot have a more substantial technology, like a go-to webinar type thing, which is more advanced, and I'm not sure we need to do that, but
That's what
I think we have had the discussion in the office, like, are we ready for that? And I guess the staff is felt confident that we,
Well, that's what we used before too, was the go-to-meeting stuff.
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
that we could make it happen. Maybe a test would be a good idea, just so it's not,
I wasn't,
Right.
I don't personally, I mean, I'm comfortable with it. Obviously, we had that other gentleman here. I was ready to do Zoom. I had it pulled up here. I mean, I'm
Right.
comfortable. But I know some other people may not, and I'm just trying to be sensitive to that. So I think it's cool. I think it's great that we're being leaders in our community, because most of these people in the community are either children on virtual at times, or they're working from home too. So
Julie, can we move on, please?
we can absolutely move on. I was asked,
Thank you.
it was asked, but if you're not comfortable with it, then maybe
I'm
we test.
comfortable with it.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
Are we good then?
Apparently, so yeah.
All right. We will go to G. Any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion? Nothing? We'll move to 9, report of village officials. A, interim administrator.
An update on the recruitment schedule. I did get a memo from Chris, who unfortunately might have contracted COVID. But he is working with another guy, so if he can't attend the meeting, he's doing the research and the recruitment, and the other person will attend, and maybe Chris will be available either by Zoom or by phone as well. He's only received 13 applications to date, and he's hoping to get up to 15. Tomorrow's the deadline, or November 6th is the deadline. So the plan is to get to the board by next Monday, a list of those candidates. And then it would be also with their resumes and maybe some recommendations. And your job at the meeting then will be to pare that down to 6, possibly 6 to 10 is what we usually do, maybe with the small number. We had talked about possibly skipping a step instead of doing the videos and having people send in videos and then coming back and reviewing the videos. Possibly we could go right to the assessment center instead of that, so it could speed up the process. So that meeting is Tuesday, November 10th. We'll get you the stuff by Monday evening or Monday during the day for your review. Is 5:30 an okay time? Next Tuesday? Does that work?
5 o'clock is slightly better for me that day.
5?
What
Yeah.
the heck?
Well, I
I
have an
I
obligation on
joke.
Tuesday after this, so,
Oh, 5, so
That's-
5:30 is better?
well, it's not.
I mean,
none
5
of
is
them are-
better?
None, 5 and 5:30 are not good for me, but 5 is better for that particular day. That
That
just
works
means
for
I have to
everyone
leave
else?
work that much
We could do
earlier.
5.
Is everyone okay
Hey,
with 5?
hey.
We have a library board meeting at
Oh,
4,
that's
so
right,
I may,
that's right.
I may be a little late. We're meeting by Zoom, so I may do that here.
So, how long is the meeting supposed to, how long are you gonna
This
have
is
the
a
meeting?
closed session, an hour, hour and a half.
5:30 to.
How long does your library board meeting typically go?
Well, Ally said in the agenda that I had a meeting, you know.
And actually,
so
that's
I-
why we set it at 5:30, was
I
to
can-
kind of go a little bit later.
So I suppose I could leave early. I'm the secretary that I could, if I had to, I could leave that early if we have to meet it at 5.
We're looking at wrapping up around 5 anyway.
Okay, so I'll maybe just attend here then.
So 5 o'clock? Okay.
You put a notice out?
And that would be a closed session only, really, is all we would need.
Mhm.
And then, I guess depending on what's decided, we had talked about the Monday the 23rd as the next meeting. And we could do that at 5:30 again. Should we plan, is 5:30 okay, you think, on that day, Monday the 23rd?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine with me.
And then, just a reminder, we had looked at the week of the 30th to the 5th, or that's the Monday through the Saturday, for some time in there for an assessment center. And we can talk more about what that would look like and with Chris and with Daryl Hoffland, who will be here next week. But
And there's no date for that at this time?
we haven't really talked
Okay.
about that,
Just making sure.
But
whether it's gonna
You're
be
saying that
like a
week, though?
weekend. Pardon?
You're saying that week though? of the
Well,
30th?
yeah, usually it's a 2-day assessment center, or sometimes you can do it in a day, but it depends how extensive you want to go, and we talked a little bit about that, if we got the community involved, coming, like a meet and greet type thing, or if you wanted to do just, one day, a full-blown assessment where you have the staff involved, you have the interviews with the board, and you have a tour. It's kind of like a switch around thing. So we can have more of that discussion at the meeting this coming Tuesday as well. But maybe it's something to think about. Do you wanna do it on Friday evening, Saturday, or do you wanna try and do it sometime during the week?
Well, past experience, the meet and greet didn't go over very well. So,
I know we talked about
I think
how
it'll
I
be
would-
less now.
how to involve the kids.
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah,
I
go
would
over that.
recommend it
That's
too
true.
now.
Yeah,
And
good
it'll be
point.
less now.
So we're looking at possibly the first or second weekend of December. Okay, so if I have
That
another,
first week for an assessment center, yeah,
okay,
that is what we had said.
but possibly the second week for, like, I do a Saturday interviews, is that what we were talking?
The third, we had just said tentatively the 30th through the, is it the 5th?
The fifth, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think the 30th is a Monday, the 5th is a Saturday.
okay, so I know Saturday I'm likely
I'm
out.
out too.
I'm out,
I'm out
Oh,
Saturday.
okay, well,
so we have this much time to plan for it, I think we can look at other dates. But,
or maybe I don't know how Friday would possibly work.
I'd stay away from the weekends if you can.
yeah, Friday, my kids have a doctor's appointment, but I can likely move that. I mean, I can move that, I can't move my thing on the 5th, so weekends are tough. 'Cause they're few and far between, but, okay. I just want to tentatively put it out there for that week. Should I just reserve that time? Is that what you're
If
trying to say?
possible, we haven't really decided on
Okay.
what that assessment center is gonna look like yet, or even what day.
Okay.
I don't know, is there a day, if we did do it during the, day that might work, is better than others? Or are people available? Can they be available during the day?
Well, we've got a board meeting on the 3rd,
Yeah,
you know, so that kind of cuts that night.
Ah,
You
right.
know.
yeah, plus the
Yeah.
committee of the whole on the 3rd too.
Yeah,
On the 3rd, do we have a committee?
I thought
We
that
have a
was-
No.
No?
No, the public hearing's during the meeting.
Oh,
That's what I
then
thought.
sorry, I got that.
So you're talking about during the day, mornings and afternoons. is
Yeah,
what
that,
you're
I
looking
guess,
at
as a
for interviews.
possibility. Now, remember, there's like three parts to this. One is kind of meeting with all the staff, and we're involved, or whoever's doing recruiting is involved with staff review of the person. Then there's the tour, there's usually a touring section, and then there's a meeting with the board section. So you're coordinating, you know, say there's 4 people, you know, you're moving them all into different parts
Right.
of that assessment center.
And
And then theoretically, you guys could be the end, well, but actually.
Sometimes you're gonna be the beginning.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly, I was just thinking that.
Yeah,
Because you don't wanna, you want them kind of to cross.
So maybe the
Yeah.
afternoon into the evening would be the commitment, if that's
I
possible.
think that's what we did in the past.
I think
Is that,
so.
I think we did that like yeah. So the sooner we know, the better. I don't wanna
Right.
tie you down to a date, but the sooner we know, the better.
So maybe on Tuesday, we can try and finalize that with Daryl and Chris, who will be here.
Kind of depends on the number of candidates we would go to too, doesn't it?
Right.
Well, I wouldn't want to go from 16 down to 10.
No, that's too many.
I think last time we narrowed it down to what, 4 or 5? 3?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a magic number. Otherwise, the process takes too long.
Right. 3 to 4, you don't want, I mean,
Yeah.
you don't want to get much lower than,
No,
Yeah,
like I
3,
said,
right.
I think 3 is a good number. It worked well last time. So if we
and
can,
weren't we going to keep this in a timeline for each one? Is that what you said? There'd be a timeline,
right,
so it's not like we're gonna give one 2 hours and one 1 hour.
right,
Yeah.
right, it would be exactly the same, you know,
Yeah.
certain amount of time with the staff, certain amount for a tour, certain amount for the board, and then a final discussion with us and with the PAA guys to make the final decision. Basically, that's what it
After
would
those
look like.
guys, these people leave,
Yeah,
whatever, we
they're,
have a
yeah,
closing.
So it's likely that we
Postmortem.
would be late afternoon or evening, is that what you're trying to say?
well, depending on how, if we have 3, you got 3 different,
Okay,
sessions going,
all right.
you're gonna meet with this 3 different people. Probably for
an hour.
hour, around an hour.
I'm just gonna block my calendar off for that week, and then we'll talk about it
Okay,
again
yeah,
on
block the whole
Tuesday.
calendar,
I just know
the whole week off,
Saturday
Julie, and then we should be
is
good.
one time a year, we go to Navarino and get a big 40-foot tree, so, yeah.
Hopefully we,
I
on
know my
Tuesday
hand.
night, we
So
can,
Narrow it down.
yeah, narrow it
Okay.
down.
And we cut the top off. We cut the top off.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I
Thank
think
you.
that was really all that I have.
Remind me.
Unless there are any other
Yep.
questions that anyone has? Like, who's gonna be the next president or something like that?
Oh, boy.
No, don't, let's
That's
get,
not-
let's not
that's
get
not
going on
fair.
this.
You don't even wanna go there.
Goodness,
Okay, I'm done.
my phone's still blowing up.
Okay, then we'll move to B, clerk treasurer.
We had a 92% voter turnout
Oh,
for
that's
the
nice.
general election.
Really good.
We did have a great group of workers again, and we did have 2 National Guard members. We had 6 people working 6 hours on processing the 865 absentee ballots that were returned. That's huge for Hortonville. And I just want to say thank you to all that helped, especially during the pandemic. And it was Pat and Allie and Nathan. We are preparing for a recount. The county clerk told me that. Good times. They have to certify all the results, so she said it'll be sometime in December. So I'm sure, assuming that will be Nathan and I and potentially one other worker. So I think that's the 3rd recount I've been involved with. They go over every single thing, so we have to have all of our things, all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. The board member iPads have been delivered, and the policy will probably be on the next agenda. We'll get to that.
How did Halloween go?
Halloween,
Yeah.
I think it went very well. I know Peter and Jane helped, Jeannie. I wasn't here, Nathan came with Finn and his wife.
Yeah, it went very well. Yeah.
Good.
It was well organized.
There were some candy bags handed, or some candy bags left over, so Lisa brought them over to all the election workers, and they were pretty excited. That was a nice little, yeah.
We wanted to save all the chip bags for Jim Moeller, but
There's some candy in that top drawer, so
Yeah.
have at it.
I know I volunteered my daughter to help, but she ended up on the exposed to somebody list, so that was not in the cards, unfortunately.
well, we thought, because you bring dinner a lot, all the time, extra bag of chips wouldn't hurt with it. But Jeannie wouldn't let us.
But I also want to thank you, Jane, Nathan, Pat, and Ally, and the rest of our staff. I think you ran a wonderful election.
Thank you.
It went,
Yeah, it worked
it
out
seemed
well.
to go very smooth, and I'm sure people all appreciated it. So,
I think
thank
so.
you.
You're welcome.
But that took some of the stress off, because you had how many absentee
865.
out of how many registered?
1,800,
How many?
1,896 registered
So you had to
voters.
handle about 1,000.
But if you figure 1,000 people in 10 hours,
Yeah,
you're still talking.
I mean, we came in, walked right in the door, voted and left within
Yeah,
5
you
minutes.
came
It
I've
worked
heard that
out
from
very,
a lot of
You
people.
came at a good
Yeah.
time.
that worked out very well.
It
The only
was.
the only complaint I heard was that the signage out front wasn't adequate enough to direct them into this door. They were
Okay.
going to that door.
Yeah, and they're used to those
Right.
doors, 'cause that's
Yeah.
how it's
Yeah,
always done.
that's the only thing they said. Other than
Okay.
that, they liked the flow in here.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, and as a worker, I just want to give kudos to Jane and Nathan too, because they're just very organized and very, we never hesitate to go to them. Ally's one of the co-chief inspectors, so she and Carrie are, it was just really a long, long day, but
There's a lot of different scenarios.
it
there.
went well.
Confidential voter, we had 2 homeless people. We had the care partners came down she called me and said, we have 2 people that didn't apply for ballot, how can they get a ballot? I said, you come down here, we do curbside. We went out and did that. I mean, pretty much every scenario other than a presidential only ballot and.
I sent
the
a
other
call
one,
your way.
Wisconsin.
I had somebody call me, or the night before, they were just put on quarantine.
Okay, we did have a lady come.
Yes,
of 'em.
it was like in her, and so, yeah, and I said, you just give them a call, I'm sure that they've got a plan, so, yeah, they were very impressed with how well you handled
It
that.
went smooth. We are also going to be audited by the Elections Commission. They picked, I think, 8 different communities in Wisconsin to have an audit, which is just, they make sure that the machines count the votes correctly. So that we'll have to prepare for that. That has to be done by, I think, right before Thanksgiving. So,
So it's not a process, it's an equipment audit.
yes, that's Greenville, us, Wrightstown, and a couple others, just randomly picked. Oh, goody, yes, all in Outagamie County, of course, because of the ballots.
Did you have poll watchers?
We did not have any observers.
No?
We were set up and ready, but didn't have any.
Okay.
Because there's a whole procedure for them too with their
Mhm.
badges and their information and, yeah, but we didn't have any.
Any other questions? We'll move to C, Director of Public Works.
I've got just a couple of items. The agreement to purchase the lot next door here, for the not to exceed value has been accepted, and Bob's working on the titles and all that good stuff, so Bob's on it. I got on their Wildland Phase 1 paving project. Right now we have approximately 80% of the homes in there, and it looks like they may have it all built out by next summer. So what I want to do is, since we got all of our, basically our money we put towards Warren Street, our future project money back, I just want to leverage 45 to 50,000 of that towards doing the overlay for Wildland Phase 1. Again, that's 100% accessible to the property owners in the subdivision. That would be their final assessment, nothing 20 years from now. So we'll get that done and get that money back in there. So what I'm going to be doing is adding it to the CIP, but I'm also going to add the same amount of revenue to the CIP. So it won't affect the budget. It's just that I'm going to be leveraging the future project money again. That's turned out to be a great deal for us, you know, like Grandview and Warner and all this. It beats us taking out a loan and not only paying interest ourselves, but charging extra interest to the people that live out there. So anytime we can leverage our own money, that's the way to go. So, and Bouchard Properties is still working on an agreement to rep our parcel over here in front of Alonzo Park. And I've got one little bit of good news. Appleton Alliance and Hortonville Alliance Church is going to be donating the new display cases for our hallway out here. So the value of that donation is going to be $8,573. So they're going to buy us 3 nice display cases. I thought that was nice. And once we get them in, we'll do something on Facebook or for it. So again, that's a pretty nice stuff. So, I don't know. Thankfully, Jeannie had talked to them as well, and they seem pretty gracious. So
Yes. They are very community-minded and want to do whatever they can to help. And then I did receive an email, Julie, that said the church would be very willing to help you pack things to come over here to put in the cases. And the bigger things, they are very willing to keep there.
Well, I think we have a meeting coming up in December,
Yes,
right?
we
Yeah,
do.
okay.
So
All right.
that'll all be taken care of then.
there's one display case in the gym I'd like to leave there with anything related to the Opera House should stay in that display case for the Opera House. So that's down upstairs. So they agreed to let that stay there since it's part of the Opera House and belongs to the Opera House. Well, I don't know if it belongs to it, but it's all about the Opera House. So that's all I have.
Any questions for Carl? If not, we'll move to D, Police Chief.
I handed out the monthly activity for October. Halloween was, you know, I spoke with a lot of people, we had gone up and down all the streets and everything else, and, you know, it was down from last year, of course, and we expected that, you know, but, you know, everybody was doing their things. A lot of the food, the candy bowls and stuff like that were at the end of the driveways and stuff like that, so, it was a good event. It was a great event. We put a big, huge thing on Facebook with the parade and everything else, and the parade went very nice, so
I still had 189 kids, so.
That's great.
She did?
Mhm.
Yeah, there was a lot of kids in the parade because I was
Yeah.
at the corner of, Oak and Nash, so, yeah.
I mean, last year was almost 500, but I had 189 this year, so.
We were the same time as the neighboring community.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah, and
affected it
days,
too.
and days.
Same day, same
Yes.
time.
Yeah, we need to keep that in mind, yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right. And
Oh.
I did get a lot of thank yous from people
Yeah,
that we held it and did something great for the
Yeah.
kids.
I had comments on Facebook.
Yes.
There were a lot of buckets, there were a lot of chutes, where people
Yes.
were sliding
Yeah.
candy down tubes, there were, baggies hanging by paper clips, there was a lot of different
Mhm.
options,
A
so.
lot of people came up with some creative things,
Yeah.
you know, there was, some people had like tables the width of their driveway, their double driveway, and they had candy, you know.
Yep, spaced out.
Yeah.
Some people had
spaced-
candy on
spaced out.
sticks in their yard, you know, there,
Yeah.
so you'd go and pick a stick, which had a candy bar, you know, taped to it, so there was a lot of,
Good idea.
My neighbor had an
Options.
elaborate dragon made out of PVC that he would put the candy in, and it was about 8 foot long tube, and he put it on it was a hinge point, so the dragon's mouth would come down, and
Into
the
your
candy
bucket.
would come out of the dragon's mouth as the kids came up. People were taking pictures, and it was cool.
something to use.
I had a number of people come up directly to me and thank the board and the city for still having it as well.
Chris, can I ask my usual question?
Nothing.
What part, okay, thank you.
Like 3 months in a row.
Right.
Yeah,
We've
Doing
been,
well.
yeah, we've been just, you know, we've been staying well in the police department with, you know, trying to stay away from COVID. We had a little scare, we had a lady that got into a squad and said, oh, by the way, 3 days ago I tested positive, so. You know, it's nice because we had the dividers and stuff like that, so, that officer always has his windows down and it doesn't matter if it's 20 degrees outside, so that helped too. But we had him tested and he came back negative, so, we're staying well. I've been working on the grants, the Roads to Recovery. I talked to Jeannie a little bit about, the $10,000, 236, I think I just need a nod for that to go ahead. I'm not sure I can put it under one or the other, but it's gonna be for the purchase of 4 computers, so with the webcam, access, so.
Chris, I'll just mention that Wolf River Community Bank is doing a Santa float,
Yes.
and our police department is working with them, and they're
December
great,
7th.
very, very happy to be doing this for the community. And so the police department is mapping out all the roads, and this float will go up and down the roads. They planned this for December 7th.
5:30. We're gonna start at 5:30. It's probably gonna take us between 2.5 hours to get through the whole entire village. However, we gotta figure out, because it's gonna be on a 22-foot car hauler. So when we get like on the end of Crystal Springs, we can't turn around. There's no place to turn around down there. So it's gonna have to be thought out well.
So it's gonna be at 5:30?
Starting at 5:30.
Starting at 5:30.
Driving
So
through the
We're
neighborhood.
gonna be going through the communities.
Okay,
Yep.
so it's gonna be it's gonna be after sunset?
Yeah,
almost, but
yes.
it's gonna be dark.
So they're gonna have music, it's gonna be led by the police, and then it's gonna be followed up with fire department.
It's our own
So,
little Christmas parade since there isn't one.
No,
Huh?
yeah, no parade in Appleton this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, no parade,
And
so.
Santa's gone.
Santa will be on it, thank you.
You have
Well,
permit?
not the one that's in the one.
Yeah.
The one.
For 20 foot? It's a car hauler,
Special events,
especially the
parade permit.
Yeah.
rest driving around town slow.
Just so you may see the big balloon.
Maybe loud music.
Is this a follow-up to those emails that,
Yes,
Mhm.
that
it is
Pat and I
all,
got?
all done,
Okay.
taken care of.
Good,
Thank you.
I worked with
Thanks.
her, and I worked with the chief, and everything is they're doing it in every community that they have a bank.
Oh,
That's
wow.
very nice.
So it's going to be very nice.
Yeah. They said that
And
they've
then-
been doing it for a couple of years in, did you say Appleton?
That will critter.
They're
Maybe
in
New London?
Greenville,
That'd be New
Cheyenne,
London.
New London, Hortonville.
Yeah, they said 4 places.
Yeah, and it wasn't
So-
New London and
Okay.
it wasn't Cheyenne, but she's been doing it for a couple of years someplace.
Interesting.
And it's been a hit, so.
And they said next year they may add businesses if they want to come in. So this could be a really nice thing for our community, you know?
Business flow.
Yes,
I'll be sure the front yard's lit up
So-
that night.
you know? Any other questions? Okay, we'll move to E, Library Director.
We have a library board meeting Tuesday the 10th, where we are doing it via Zoom. Our part-time position is still open. We have had a few applications, but I think between COVID and people kind of just doing curbside, you just haven't had the same volume of applicants that we normally do. Curbside has gone down a little bit. We have been averaging roughly 30 a day. I would say it's gone down to about 20 a day, with the exception of last Friday when we had 42 requests. And being down a position, it's been interesting trying to keep up with everything. Right now our circulations are about 60% of where they were last year. So that plays into our county reimbursements that I had spoken about earlier. The county reimburses us for per circulation, and we're right now running about 60% of what we were at last year at this point in time. So that kind of gives us a little bit of an indication what we can expect in 2022. In terms of curbside, we are attempting to pick up curbside and increase those circulations by offering price baskets every week. So every curbside request, Monday through Friday, the names get put into a drawing. We draw the name on Monday for a prize basket from that week. This week we have 2 baskets. I think we're gonna have to start doing 3 baskets a week because we have way too many in our library at the moment. We are using some prize baskets that had been donated from our summer program because we didn't have a big, large summer program this year. We're repurposing those for this curbside program. The Friends of the Appleton Library purchased laptops for all of the Owls libraries. And that will be delivered sometime in December. The intention of that was that all libraries should have an option for patrons to socially distance once we are able to open again. If that means they're not in our computer corrals right next to each other, they can find another spot in the library to socially distance. So luckily, the Friends of the Appleton Library bought everything. All of the libraries are ideally getting Wi-Fi extenders also to broaden how far our Wi-Fi reaches. I tried using it tonight on the laptop, and I cannot reach the library in here. But the first 2 parking spots get it very well. We actually have a patron who sits out there from like 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. every single day.
We get welfare checks on her.
Yes, I have asked the PD to check on her a couple of times. Rain, shine, summer, winter, her windows are rolled up and she's out there using our Wi-Fi.
All day?
And all day.
All day.
All day.
She'll fall asleep out there, so people call us and wanna make sure she's okay.
She does have a residence. That was my first concern. But it also does show us that people depend on our Wi-Fi, because not everybody has Wi-Fi at home. I don't have Wi-Fi.
There's people at night that are here
So-
using the Wi-Fi.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So devil's advocate, the laptops that you're getting,
Mhm.
is there gonna be some sort of tagging system so that they don't just disappear since people bring their own?
Yes.
And could just walk out with said laptop?
Yes, the Owls is also looking at security measures for that. When I worked at the Kimberly Little Chute Libraries, we required people to turn in their driver's license, and we would hold that at the desk as collateral. and then they bring the laptop back to us, they get that back.
I could just see it disappearing, so.
Yeah. Yep, so, that's kind of all I've got. I don't normally talk this much.
Any other questions for Ally?
So the county funding, based on the circulation, I mean, everybody's gotta be experiencing the same thing, right?
It
All the
is,
libraries?
yeah. So the
You
formula
would-
that the county uses is based on a cost per cert model for residents of communities that don't have their own library.
Yeah.
So like Dale, Ellington Center, their communities obviously don't have their own public library, so they pay into the county a community library tax or whatever. When our circulations are calculated at the end of the year, it's divided by those people who are registered with those municipalities. So in 2020, we got a reimbursement from the county about $99,000. We're expecting 2021 about 132, so it's gone up, which is great. But then with circulations being down so widely spread, where all of the libraries are expecting 2022 to be reflective of that.
It'd be nice if there'd be a way
Yeah, I was gonna say
to
that
compensate.
if all the
and-
libraries went down,
right.
they're still collecting the funds, you're gonna have to
Right.
find,
And we've
you'd have
talked,
to assume there has to be a way that they're
right,
going
we talked
to,
about that at the
Yeah.
board meeting,
Yeah.
and just wonder if there's a way we can advocate for,
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
to go off of the
Well-
prior year or something.
And I've asked about that at a system level before, but the formula is written into state statute,
right?
Okay.
so they
That's
can't
where-
adjust the formula.
Yeah,
But I'm wondering if the counties are going to somehow adjust how they, I don't know.
Yeah, they
Might
can't
do
adjust the
something for
formula,
lobby
but
day,
they-
you know,
yeah.
maybe there'd be,
Library legislative
Yeah.
days in February,
Right.
and
That
a
might
lot
be
of
something.
library people go down to Madison and talk with the legislators
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
see if there's anything we can bolster that way.
yeah, I know you can't factor it into your budget, but you
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
assume there's gonna be some
It's
sort
gonna
of a
hurt.
COVID adjustment
It's
for
gonna
it.
hurt big
I would
time.
hope
Because
so.
they're
Yeah.
gonna have all that money coming in from the neighboring communities, it's
Mhm.
just not gonna, the numbers won't add up, and then they're gonna be sitting with this big pool of money that was designated for the libraries, and they
Right.
won't be able to pay it out based on the formula.
We're trying not to panic and think about it too
Yeah.
deeply right now.
It's hard to say, it's estimated the year before, it might be, they dropped the budget, so it won't be in the budget to pay out
Yeah.
any extra money, so.
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah.
wondering, okay.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, then we'll go to F, attorney.
Two things, as Carl mentioned, we're in the process of the land purchase, and that will close this month. We're waiting for a title report. The only other thing is I would report that Wild Wind 2 final plat has been recorded, and we're in the process of recording the restrictive covenants, development agreement, and notice of future assessments. So basically, the paperwork on that plat for that subdivision is now done. That's all.
So I got approached by the neighbors over by Al's house there,
Lakeview Drive. Lakeview Drive.
Lakeview Drive, that abandoned property that's over there. Are you aware of that? That's like 231. The owner,
No,
Kubiski,
Kaminsky.
Kaminsky, yeah, they passed away a few years ago.
oh, that, okay.
And that's the one that has the very big water bill.
2016.
And the house has been abandoned.
The building inspector's on it, we
Is it?
talked to the, something's gonna happen pretty soon.
Yeah,
How long
because
has it been?
they're concerned that there's critters living in there, that the second floor fell into the first floor, this last year already.
Okay.
All the windows have been open for years.
Is there a-
In March, there was a water break, and it's a $21,000+ bill.
Do we know
That
whether
is
or not
owed
there's,
to the village.
The water was turned off, somebody turned it back on, and it
Yeah.
needs to be tore down.
but do we know whether or not there's a mortgage on that, I presume?
You'd have to talk to Paul.
Okay,
And family lives outside of
we'll
town.
look into that.
Yeah, the family doesn't
Yeah,
live nearby.
Yeah,
Huh?
The family doesn't live near here, not even in the
The
state.
bank owns it.
the bank owns it?
The bank owns it. We had an open door.
Do we know which bank? The next door neighbors are interested in, he's a builder, he's interested in purchasing the property.
Yeah.
So he asked if there was any way we could find out, if we had any resources to be able to find out who he could contact about potentially purchasing it.
We can look that up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we contacted the bank, and the bank said that they were sending somebody over to, fix the door, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, the neighbors have been mowing the yard and
You want-
trimming the bushes and stuff for 3 years now.
What's the address?
It's like 231, I think.
Yeah, it's,
You
There
can, when you're,
there was a local owner, but he walked away, I guess.
yeah, well, yeah. So if you know what bank, if you could forward it to me, I'll, I already have the contact info for the neighbor that's interested. They would really like to know.
Any questions for Bob? We'll move to G, building permit and report, there is none. 10, communications and miscellaneous business. 8, Black Otter Lake District News.
We had a meeting on the 21st of October, and Carl was there too, so if I miss anything, Carl, please jump in. The person that is repairing the harvester is looking at a new type of trailer that would speed up the loading process when it's used on the lake, so that one person could do that part of it and not two. So we asked Al to follow up with that person just to get more details. Power is going to be installed in Bold's half of the storage building. That will be paid for by Bold. The concern for railings on the docks was brought up, and Carl, I think, is going to follow up on that, possibly a railing on one side
Yeah, yeah.
for safety purposes.
I'm gonna talk more with Dan about that. Legally, we're not required to, but I think, we might put them on one side.
Yeah. It
We'll
was
talk.
a person who fishes frequently and uses a wheelchair or walker, so there was some concern about balance issues and not having any safety on one side. We also discussed weed removal on the creek by the footbridge in Alonzo Park. So that's something we're gonna look at and then replace it with shore planting. Next meeting, January 20th.
Any questions? We'll move to B, Hortonville, Hortonia Fire District News.
No meeting until the 11th of November.
Okay. C, Gold Cross Ambulance Run Report and News, there is none. D, Hortonville Civic Association.
We're still moving forward for planning for next year, July 17th and 18th. As I pointed out before, it's a all-day Saturday and half a Sunday instead of a Friday night and Saturday. And I just got an email from Mike Bailey for the music for Saturday night, so we got that all booked up. So we're moving forward. That's Vic Ferrari.
Okay. E is Senior Activities Committee.
We haven't been meeting because of COVID. The Helping Hands driving, it's not really technically a part of seniors, but I'll just mention that, been doing driving, the Legion people are doing quite a bit of that. We're doing one meal delivery on Wednesdays using the van. They're anticipating that more people may be requesting delivery because of roads. If the roads get bad, they're not gonna wanna come here. They're continuing the meals at least through the end of the year.
One
Did you go ahead?
person that came to vote used the van, right, the driver?
Yes.
drove him to the polls.
For the early vote, right? Yeah.
Any questions? We'll move to 11, comments and suggestions from citizens present, and there are none. 12 would be a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?